Dear friends, what do we do when it rains?
We cover up. Umbrella.
We cover up. We have an umbrella. We try to stay dry, right? Absolutely. I would like to tell you a story of resistance and freedom, of choice and childhood. Do you recall how a few weeks ago there was that 3-week period in which it did not stop raining for a single day? It was a pretty miserable time. It was gray, rainy, wet, kind of depressing, except for one day. On one day, it was a Sunday, actually, very aptly named, the sun came out. And on that Sunday, I decided to celebrate. I decided to run down to Riverview Park and embrace this beautiful sunshine that was finally gracing us after 3 weeks of nonstop rain. As I was running down Riverview Park on that trail, I felt free. I was as fast and swift as the coursing river running right by me, and it was good to be alive. Suddenly, and seemingly out of nowhere, the sky darkened, the air stood still, and the birds ceased their sing-song, wonderful songs. A raindrop, and then 5, and then 1,000,000, and suddenly the whole world was covered in rain, and the path beneath my feet was pockmarked with the pellets raining down. I had no choice. I had to run for cover. I had to hide under the thick canopy of leaves, and there I was, crouched in fetal position, waiting for the rain to stop. I thought to myself, no, I'll just wait it out. I'll stay dry here in my little home of leaves. But of course, nature had other plans. Because from where the rain came, there appeared a downpour, and then a massive monsoon, which painted the entire landscape murky white. And at that moment, I actually had 2 choices. Do I stay, or do I go? Friends, I chose the path of freedom. I emerged from underneath my canopy of leaves, and I ran. As I was running down this beautiful path, getting completely soaked to the core, to the bone, I was transported to an idyllic version of my childhood self. I was transported to being 5 years old and looking out the window at a very similar downpour where the entire landscape was that murky white. But when I was 5, I didn't hesitate. I ran out the door, put on my puddle jumping boots, and I started playing there out in the rain, just completely free, completely enamored by all the joy that was surrounding me. Because the only thing that mattered in that moment was that I was one with the rain. This memory carried me forward on this path as I continued running and running and running and getting even more soaked. And then, of course, I came across this very surly looking couple, a boyfriend trailing behind his girlfriend with these very heavy and very rain-soaked bags. As he was trudging along behind her, he called out, "This is frickin' BS!" Except the 2 expletives were a little bit more colorful in nature. The girlfriend, in her own resistance, looked back at him and spat, "Well, I can't control the weather." I just smiled and waved and ran merrily on. A few feet down the road, I encountered another gentleman who was actually stopped at the trail, huddling beneath his tiny umbrella, hoping not to get as wet as he was already becoming. So I smiled and waved, and he smiled good-naturedly back, and he said, "I hope this stops soon." And I said, "I hope it doesn't." But of course, nature had other plans, and the rain eventually did stop. And when I emerged from that tunnel, the thick canopy of leaves, I looked back, and I saw a rainbow. Now, friends, why is this important? In considering this story, I was forced to realize how much we do resist in everyday life. That couple, that little old man, why were they so resistant to the very thing that gives everything around us life? It's just water. It ain't gonna hurt anyone. And in thinking these judgments of these other people, I reflected that I too resisted. My first inclination was to hide under that canopy of leaves. I wanted to stay dry too. So why do we resist? Why, when given the choice of resistance and freedom, do we spend so much time pushing back on the things that, if we were just 5 years old, we would readily enjoy? So this led me to think that whenever there's a situation where you're presented with a form of resistance or a form of freedom, it is sometimes best to choose the path of least resistance, to succumb to whatever comes our way and allow ourselves to expose that inner 5-year-old self who can readily accept the wonder, the joy, the splendor of being a kid. So the next time, ladies and gentlemen, that there's rain in your forecast, or the next time you're confronted with a rather surly situation, put on your puddle jumping boots. This whole thing, just leave it at home. And really relish in the moment of what it would like to be 5 years old.